Today on the newscast from Jerusalem, Iran is now openly aligned with Russia in Ukraine, providing weapons, advisors, and more. What does this ultimately mean for Russia's relationship with Israel? Find out next. Hey folks, Erick Stakelbeck here. Welcome to the Watchman Newscast and welcome to Jerusalem. I'm in God's one and only holy city filming some Watchman productions. You're going to want to see them soon here on the newscast and on the Watchman show on TBN. I will be here until the end of the week. We've already got some great content under our belt, whether it's on national security, geopolitics, biblical archaeology, and history, all the subjects you love here in the newscast. We are bringing you fresh content from the land of Israel. If you missed us Monday or Tuesday from here in Jerusalem, you can check it out in our archives under newscast. And while you're there, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you get alerts every time a new video is posted. Hey, who knows? We may even be coming to you from Jerusalem. Speaking of which, some very serious conversations happening here right now among Israeli government officials regarding Iran's involvement in Ukraine and how it is now openly aiding Vladimir Putin's regime against Ukraine. Now, Iranian advisors are now reportedly in Crimea, which Russia seized by force from Ukraine in 2014. These are advisors from Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, and they are there to help direct Russia in its drone onslaught against Ukraine. Now remember, Iran has reportedly supplied hundreds, if not thousands, of these attack drones, these so-called kamikaze drones that Russian forces are using to really carry out acts of terror against the people of Ukraine in cities throughout Ukraine. Just look at Monday, folks, when 5 people were killed in the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv, courtesy of these Iranian kamikaze drones. The main one being used by Russia is the Shahed 136 drone. Now, as we've reported previously here on the newscast, we had Russian soldiers in Iran being trained by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps on how to use these drones. Iran shipped the drones to Russia, and apparently they weren't performing too well on the battlefield. So now Iran has reportedly sent dozens of advisors from the Revolutionary Guards Corps to Crimea, where they are working hand in glove with their Russian allies on how to effectively use those Iranian-made drones to murder Ukrainian civilians. That's what it boils down to, folks. Iran is murdering Ukrainians in Ukraine right now, acting really as a proxy for Russia in that war. So the Middle East conflict now is spreading to Europe, essentially. We know that Iran is very adept at using proxies here in this region against Israel and against the United States, whether it's Hezbollah, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, the Houthis in Yemen, those various Shia militias in Iraq and Syria. Now Iran is acting as a proxy of sorts for Russia. Russia right now having some supply issues, going to the likes of Iran and North Korea to replenish its arsenal to be used against Ukraine, which includes, by the way, reportedly, Iran now agreeing to supply Russia with short-range ballistic missiles, some that can travel up to 435 miles. That is also in the works. Folks, what we see, bottom line, is the alliance, the relationship between Russia and Iran continuing to expand and grow across all areas. Remember, Vladimir Putin, back in July, paid a red carpet visit to Tehran, where he met with the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, and Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi, and he and Iran's leaders declared this is a massive strategic relationship that we are looking to build. Russia is pivoting under Vladimir Putin to the east. The Russian relationship with Europe is essentially out the window right now. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov even said yesterday that Russia is going to downgrade and downsize its presence in European capitals as it looks to Asia. Think China, think North Korea, think India as well, and of course right here in the Middle East. Israel must be very concerned about this Russian pivot to the east, in particular to the Middle East, and the Russian-Iranian alliance. Now, we'll get into that more in a minute. Real quick, something to note, Ukraine, as it sees Iran increasingly supplying weapons to Russia to be used against Ukraine, Ukraine is saying two things. Number one, some top Ukrainian officials are saying, hey, we need to cut all relations with Iran. Clearly, they are our enemy and aligned with our enemy. That's number one. But number two, we also have Ukrainian officials continuing to pressure Israel in a very public way, saying, we want weaponry from you, Israel, and in particular, we want missile defense systems. The Ukrainians would love to use Iron Dome. We have developments there. Benny Gantz, the current defense minister, said today that we're not going to do it. We're not going to supply weapons to Ukraine for a variety of reasons. Perhaps we'll help, and he said Israel has offered to help Ukraine with an early warning missile defense system, not a missile defense system, but an early warning system. But Israel's not going to supply weapons. Benjamin Netanyahu, who may be prime minister once again come November 1st, he also went on record this week saying it's not a good idea for Israel to supply weapons to Ukraine. Ukraine is none too happy about that. What Israel's trying to do is, and continuing to do, they've been doing this or trying to in the past 8 months, is play that kind of middle road between Russia and Ukraine. Why? They don't want to anger the Russian bear, folks. Russia is at Israel's doorstep in Syria and aligned openly with Iran, with the Assad regime, with Hezbollah, Israel's greatest enemies. So Israel has been trying to avoid a collision course with Russia, but folks, at this point, I think it is unavoidable. I've called it the coming great betrayal, where Israel and Russia for the past 30, 31 years or so have enjoyed pretty decent relations. I wouldn't call them warm relations, but decent relations. I believe that is rapidly going out the window. Over the past few months here in the newscast, we've been documenting the unraveling of ties between Israel and Russia. On Monday, Dmitry Medvedev, the former Russian president, a very close ally of Putin, in Putin's inner circle, said that if Israel dares supply Ukraine with weapons, that will essentially be the end of relations between Israel and Russia. And Russia has criticized Israel on a host of topics, including those Israeli airstrikes in Syria against Russia's good friends, the Iranian regime and Hezbollah. They've criticized Israel over the status of Jerusalem, over the Palestinian issue, over the Golan Heights. Russia maintains that the Golan, which is so crucial to Israel's history and its current security, they say that the Golan is part of Syria, that is Syrian sovereign territory. So there is in the very least in the early going, a diplomatic collision course right now between Putin's regime and Israel. Folks, I believe it's unavoidable because, again, Vladimir Putin is aligned with Israel's greatest enemies. There's no getting around that. That's number one. You can tell a lot about a man, by the way, by the company he keeps. And the company Vladimir Putin keeps is, I don't know, the Iranian regime, the Assad regime in Syria, Hezbollah, Hamas, North Korea, and China. These are his allies. These are his friends. That's number one. Number two, you have to wonder if there's some kind of quid pro quo here between Iran and Russia, where, hey, Iran now, they're invested in Ukraine, in helping the Russian war effort there through advisors, drones, soon missiles reportedly. What will Russia give Iran in return? You have to think that Iran is saying, we'll help you, we will give you this, Russia, but this is what we want in return. And you have to think some of that return involves Israel, involves Syria. Is a day coming where Russia says to Israel, no more airstrikes on Syrian soil. Folks, hey, we live in perilous times, no doubt, but these are also Bible times. I believe the war of Gog and Magog that Ezekiel lays out, chapters 38 and 39 of the book of Ezekiel, where Russia, I believe, will lead that latter days confederation against Israel. That's why I've called it that coming great betrayal. So don't be surprised when we see this developing, increasing tensions between Israel and Russia. Don't be discouraged, be encouraged, because God Almighty still sits on the throne. He is in control, but here in the region right now, it is a very interesting time. We will keep you up to speed on all of it. right here on the Watchman Newscast. Stay tuned tomorrow, Friday, throughout the weekend into Monday for more on-the-ground reports from the world's most strategic and volatile region, the Middle East, and learn why it impacts you no matter where you live. Thanks so much for joining us here today on the Watchman Newscast. Until tomorrow, God bless you from Jerusalem, and remember, never hold your peace. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. If you enjoyed this episode and want to see more, make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, click subscribe, and tap the bell icon to turn on notifications for new Watchman Newscast episodes every weekday.